Hello and welcome back to another Wrestling and another edition of Smackdown Out of 10. It is a big episode today, lots going on, obviously with just over a week to go until WrestleMania. We got all the latest from Pat McAfee, as well as other feuds including Rhea and Jade and Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. But we start things off with a recap of the whole Pat McAfee attacking Rhodes with Orton last week. Outside the arena, Rhodes was told by Nick Aldis that he had strict orders not to touch McAfee or Orton. Jelly Roll showed up and said the same thing, and we went live to the arena where Rhea came out to talk about Joel Colville going after Rio. She called out Jade for a fight, but Sky showed up and said she told Ripley that since she gets Jade at Mania, she wants to face the champion tonight to get revenge. Aldis booked it for the main event, a short segment. For this was to its benefit. Ripley didn't need to speak for 10 minutes after a feud that's been going on for a few weeks. This was good without overstaying its welcome. As we moved on to the first match, which was Bayley and Alexa Bliss. They know each other well over the years, so they have a lot of chemistry with a lot of experience working together. Charlotte Flair and Lyra watched from ringside as Bayley took control heading into the break. Bayley had control for most of the first half, but Bliss began building some momentum after the break. The tag title feud has helped feature a lot of great performers, but it was nice to see these two get a chance to shine in one-on-one. Since both were baby faces, there was no heel shenanigans or interference spots. Bliss ended up scoring a win with a roll-up after Bayley got distracted by Flair and Valkyrie outside the ring. They ending protected Bayley while both in Bliss are mostly clean wins. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. As we then moved on to a video package for Royce Keith highlighting his journey to WWE minus AEW. Following a break, he made his way to the ring for a debut against Berto. Berto tried to play some mind games by going behind Keith and slapping his head a few times, but the powerhouse immediately nailed a clothesline to take him down before kicking him up off the ground for a slam in one fluid motion. Angel pulled his cousin out of the ring to help him, and it allowed Berto to shove Keith into the ring post to gain control for a moment. It wasn't a complete squash, but Keith dominated 90%. Short, but made him look good. He hit a big spinebuster for the win and hoped WWE kind of put some effort into him now. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. As we then moved on to Pat McAfee, who came out and immediately insulted the San Jose crowd by calling it a town a shithole. He called himself a hero, said stars like CM Punk's signless bums. It almost felt like WWE are trying to build towards Punk versus McAfee after both men addressed each other in promos. It was as heelish as it gets. He was insulting fans too. The crowd gave him a little heat, but it seemed like most were not into it. Eventually Rhodes came out to issue a response. He said nobody wants to see Orton at Mania, but nobody wants to see Pat, and told him to go home and stop being a play wrestler. Cody was about to leave and Pat insulted him one too many times, headed back to the ring. Orton appeared on the screen and showed that he attacked Jelly Roll backstage. McAfee distracted Rhodes so Orton could get his attack from behind. The Viper planted the American Nightmare with draping DDT. It could have been a good segment, but either McAfee was given some bad lines or he chose to say them. Regardless of what it was, it didn't work. He's become so valuable, but WWE's dropping the ball. Cody and Orton were alright, but it wasn't early enough to save the segment. We then got Jacob Fatu taking on Tama Tonga. As usual, Tonga was flanked by the MFTs. Fatu backed Tonga to the corner and made a clean break, but Tama kicked him and started an exchange of strikes. There was a time when Fatu would have dominated Tonga, but they were on a more even playing field now that Tonga has a lot of muscle. Fatu and Tama had a solid back and forth, but it never really felt like either guy was in control for too long, so it felt more competitive. Fatu got the victory with his trademark moonsault. Surprisingly, the MFTs didn't rush to the ring to attack him like they usually do. But it's only because Drew showed up to attack him. He took the longest pair of handcuffs ever, made them into a whip for Fatu into the ring post. He tried to use them to tie Fatu to the ring post, but it didn't exactly work as planned once one of the cuffs kept releasing. But yeah, whatever. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. Kind of a pretty simple way to set up that match. As we then moved on to Sami Zayn, who came out and tried to appeal to the crowd. He was getting some boos, but he said he would never turn on fans who support him. He asked why the crowd were booing since he didn't know why, but then he said he didn't care because the Roll or Die fans were still there for him. As Trick Williams and Lil Yachty made their way out to insult the champ. The crowd was way more behind Trick than Zayn, and Zayn said the crowd might like Trick, but they don't love him yet. He promised to give Williams the fight of his life at WrestleMania. A solid exchange held high that match before we got Matt Cardona taking on Trick. They started with picture-in-picture. While the match wasn't too bad, the result being so obvious kind of made it hard to care. Williams wasn't about to lose to Cardona this close to WrestleMania. They fought for another break, so they had a good amount of time to work, and it felt more like a throwaway than predictability. Williams got the win, but Lil Yachty was taken out by a lever kick for the win. So yeah, I'll go with a 6 out of 10. Moving on then to Danhausen, who finally made his in-ring debut this week, and the first match was against Kit Wilson. The Miz accompanied Wilson to the ring. Wilson puffed over his chest as he had a standoff with Wilson and hit a dropkick and a Northern Light suplex for a quick 2. As Wilson was on the top turnbuckle preparing for a move, Danhausen cast a curse that caused the pyro to go off and hit Wilson below the belt. The painted man took advantage of the moment and scored the win. As the Miz prepared a sneak attack, Danhausen escaped when the lights were off. Some matches are designed just for comedy, and this was one of them, but they had a good job with it. Wilson and the Miz had great facial expressions and reactions to everything. The match won't win awards, but it was on the whole pretty enjoyable. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on into Jade Cargill versus Io Sky. The main event got started about 8 minutes left, so there wasn't much time. Io was the star here, but Cargill looked like she continued working on her game, improving. She looked more confident than ever in her movements, but she still has some rough edges that need sanding down. They did a good job making this feel competitive limited time. Cargill got the win with Jaded, but Ripley was there in a heartbeat to prevent her from attacking Sky with a chair. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I mean, yeah, it was a pretty decent match. I just kind of wish they had a bit more time, especially with break in there. But, you know, Sky really impressed. I think it did a good job building up to WrestleMania. But overall, yes, Smackdown shows a slight improvement in recent weeks, but it felt like there's too much time on certain things and not enough on others. McAfee's promo was ill-advised and likely did more to increase fan backlash, even though the wrestlers did well. Good to see Royce Keys getting his big debut, and you know, him and Danhausen I think could be really interesting. A lot of WrestleMania stories addressed, but yeah, I think hopefully next week's big PLE show we can get next Big O Home show we can really get excited for it.
That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.